I heard it's 25 anniversary. Yeah.
It is. It's our 25th anniversary, and
Awesome.
you guys have played such a big part in our radio station for the past 15 years. We're just really excited that you're headed back to the Treasure Valley this year.
Oh, amazing. Well, congrats on 25 years. We love Boise. We have a long history with Boise and Nampa and,
Yeah,
all the cities that are close enough to drive to over a weekend. We used to do a lot of shows there before we were really touring. So
right,
fond
right.
spot in our hearts for sure.
Well, and this town sure has adopted you guys. That is for sure. Congratulations on the new album.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Um, so did you? First of all, my first question has to be: after an album cycle, after you guys have recorded and toured and gone on the road, how long does it take you all to sort of recover, to get a proper amount of rest before you're ready to get back into everything?
It varies for sure. Person to person. It kind of just, it helps when you're sort of like hungry to pivot from like an artistic direction you've been in, which is sort of where we were at wrapping up the every shade of blue album cycle, which was like a good problem to have. Everybody was pretty like inspired to be able to be in a room together while we're writing again, working in small groups. So I mean, for sure, there's a fatigue that comes, and you kind of just want to, forget that you're an artist for a little bit and get some input. At least I can speak for myself saying that. I sort of go back to like reading books and just being an observer, or just, like mowing the lawn, just like normal stuff.
Right, right.
Yeah, it was helpful that we were all pretty hungry to just kind of have an open-ended um artistic space or canvas for us, getting on a Warner, and we didn't have any timelines, and we were really excited to get back in the room together, which we hadn't been able to do in a while. But
Yeah, I
Because you're
feel
not
like
all in the same place anymore, right?
no, we're all spread around. I'm in Los Angeles. A couple are in Seattle. John and Tyler, our drummer, are in Richmond, Virginia. We've kind of all gone back to, for the most part, where we grew up, and it's been a while. I've been back here in LA for 10 years now. It
Wow.
was 6 years in Seattle and then been back for a while. So yeah, we're all spread around. So yeah, meeting up to write and record and do anything takes planning, and you can't always plan creativity. So it can be a little challenging. There's times when we have dates on the books to write songs, and at least speaking for myself, I'm just like not clicking those days, and you just have to like cross your fingers and hope that it lines up.
right.
Did you guys
But
have some?
but yeah, to add on real quick to your question, I think because of COVID and this random long unexpected chunk of not being together and not touring, and I think this time around especially, it just felt really exciting to go back into the studio and be writing together. It felt like it had been longer than it actually had been. And I think this time around too, in the past, we would book out a whole 3 or 4 weeks at a studio, and that can just really burn you out where you come up on 10 days and you're working long days and your
Right.
brain's just in zombie mode. And this time we did a really good job at, because we had the time, we didn't have deadlines, we did a really good job at just doing like 5 to 7 day chunks, and we just did more of them. So we would fly to Richmond for 5 6 days, write those days, and then take a month off, and then fly to Seattle for a week, and just did it slower. And I think that really helped with the overall sanity of it.
Did you guys have a an idea, a goal going into this particular album that you wanted to approach it in a way maybe you hadn't before, or I know that you guys self-produced this record for the first time in a bit.
Yeah, that's right. We self-produced this one. Sort of similar or very similar to our approach with the first and the second record. I think like I always misremember things, but I feel like we at least understanding that we wanted to do this one without a producer was an intentional thought up front. And just being able to be like a band in a room again, and seeing how that would influence the writing again versus, the last record, for a couple different reasons. There was just like we weren't we weren't able to just get together as a band and write. It's kind of more isolated, so it was nice to be able to do that for sure. I just lost my train of thought. Yeah, maybe.
Sorry. Yeah, sorry. There was a little bit of noise in my room too, so I tried to mute myself. Sorry if that was loud.
Good. No, no, you're good. Um, but then at the same time, too, like, because your question was like, do we have anything like intentions at this in the offset, like in the very beginning of how to approach this differently? Um, I think in general, like choosing not to work with a producer, and just letting like kind of what Kenny was saying, like because we had more time and we weren't on a label, like getting together the first time and really just seeing like let's just see what sound we're making first because we haven't been able to write like this in a long time. So let's just like not put pressure on knowing what it's going to be. And then at the same time, I think once we started doing that, we were like, well, there's some couple cool directions, but we had just made a record that had like everything in the kitchen sink involved. So we're like,
Okay.
make a more cohesive sound this time, a little more succinct. So I'd say pretty early on, we were like, yes, this is cool. It reminds me of some music I love, but it's kind of steering things off in a strange direction again. Whereas the majority of the stuff is going this direction. Let's just like get ahead of it and just kind of pick out the things that were, making it less focused. But a lot of that happened kind of in real time. Like, once we,
Sure.
like I was saying, we had the luxury of getting together and giving ourselves some time and really listening back to what we were writing and being like, okay, this direction feels good to everybody. Let's kind of double down here.
Uh, you guys will release the new album, Aperture, on May 9th. What are you most excited about collectively? You've been working on this project. You put a lot of time, heart, and sweat into it. What's it like when it's finally out there for everybody to hear? What's it like for you guys when that happens?
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like a cliche, and I can't think of a better um, example, but it really does feel like you've nurtured like a child in a way for a few years, and it's a really personal thing, and you put a lot of work behind closed doors too, like work that people doesn't see. I have like family and friends who, none of them have ever seen the hours in the studio
Right.
writing and the hours recording and, how hard it can be at times and how great it can be at times. There's a lot of just like blood, sweat, and tears put into it. And then you decide, you finally finish it and, you start talking about the other world of it, which is the touring and the release and the artwork and all these other things. And yeah, it really just feels like this thing that we've are proud of and have put a lot of work into it, and you let it out in the world and see how it does, and you're proud of it and you just hope for the best. But it's
Right.
hard to, yeah, it's like such a personal thing. It's I don't know, it's hard to explain, I guess. That's why I can't explain it.
Yeah, the one thing that comes to mind for me is like because we've had this thing finished now for a few months. Because in the final stretches of finishing a record, you're mixing, you're making notes on those mixes, you're working on the album sequence, then you're mastering it, and so you're listening with a critical ear because you have to, and that can become a huge drag because this passionate, love project child of each song becomes sort of like, under under scrutiny, and it's a drag to have to listen to music that way, but it's necessary.
Gotcha.
And so when you get to finish a record and then not listen to it for a while and then it comes out, for me, I feel like I finally get to like listen to it and breathe naturally. There's not all this like weight on my chest. It's like I enjoy it for the first time. So it's almost like I'm one of the fans hearing it for the first time. It's really nice to just be like, oh, cool. Like I start hearing other people's parts. I'm like, whoa, I didn't even catch that thing that Kenny was doing. That's sick. So it's kind of it's a joyous process for sure. Like all of the grunt work is behind us, and now you just get to sort of cut the ribbon and go for it.
Well, we're absolutely so excited to hear the album. We cannot wait to see you guys back. Outlaw Field is one of our favorite venues. It's a beautiful place and
Yeah.
it is a perfect place to hear your music. So, congratulations on the record. Thanks so much for taking time to visit with us today. And
Thank you. Yeah,
can't
and
wait.
that'll be August 14th, I believe, at
Yeah.
Outlaw Fields. So
Yep.
anybody that wants to get some tickets.
We can't wait to see you guys.
Tim, I want to know what's
Thank,
up with that red phone on the wall. I love that.
uh, yeah.
It's an
For the
actual,
president.
yeah. I
It's,
miss, I miss those.
yeah. Yeah. Well, you guys take care. Thank you so much and be well. All right.
You
Thanks,
too.
Tim.
Thanks,
Take care.
Tim.
Appreciate it.